Hi, I'm Lori Roberts, Career Clarity Coach, here to talk to you about the real cause of stress. When we're stressed, it shows up in various ways. Might not be able to sleep. We maybe are getting head, back, neck aches. We often feel more irritable and frustrated. We may be even feeling tired and like we're heading towards or on the verge of burnout. Of course, addressing these symptoms will help, like getting more sleep if you can. Trying not to sit too long, getting more rest and relaxation is definitely a good thing. But all these symptoms do not cause the stress, and until you understand the underlying cause of stress, you cannot change it. So then you might think, well, the causes of my stress are the hours I work, the type of workload I have, the manager, coworkers, or clients I have to work with, the tight deadlines, or the lack of recognition for the work I do. Well, sorry to say, but these are just the triggers for your stress. They're not the cause of your stress either. So you ask, what then is the cause of my stress? I am definitely feeling stressed. I'm not just making this stuff up. Okay, well, let's take a step back for a minute and break this down, and we'll talk about exactly where the stress is coming from. To do this, let's start with this analogy. And please remember, no analogy is perfect, but I think this will give you a pretty good frame of reference for what I'm getting at here. What if you had a flat tire and you took your car into the shop? Well, they could pump it up for you, but until they remove the nail and patch the hole, your tire will just deflate again. So the flat tire is a symptom, the hole is the stress you're feeling, and the nails are the trigger. Then you will say the nails or triggers caused the hole, the stress. Yes, but until you drove over the nail, it did not cause the hole. I know you would say that you did not know there was a nail, but in this analogy you did, because you are aware of the manager, coworker, clients, and tight deadlines. You are aware of them, but you are choosing to drive over the nails, so to speak, and cause the hole. So let's put this all together. You focus on the trigger, you think thoughts, you feel stress, and you get symptoms. So you see that the nail did not cause the hole, you did. Okay, well, maybe because you did not realize the true source of your stress, which we're going to talk more about in a minute, you did not realize that you were driving over the nail. But it is still your choice whether you drive over the nail, especially now that you know that the nail is not the cause of your stress. So let me tell you a story about Bob to illustrate this more clearly.
Here's Bob. And when Bob started his job, he just loved it. He was excited to work with his managers, coworkers, and his clients. Bob had lots of energy for keeping up with the demands of the job. Bob did well for quite a while at that job. But after a while, Bob started to notice that at times he felt tired by the demands of the job, and that his managers were not always on the ball, and his clients could be really difficult to work with at times. So as he noticed these things, they became more apparent and more bothersome. He started to expect certain things to be a certain way, that his managers would not be on the ball, that there would be too many demands, and that the clients would be difficult. And just as he expected, things felt like they got worse instead of better. Bob started to feel like he didn't know if he should find another sales job with a different company, or maybe try a different line of work. Okay, so let's look at this in a little more depth, like taking a look under the hood, so to speak. Bob came into his new job with positive expectations. He felt excited and happy about his new job, looked forward to working for the new company with his new colleagues and meeting new clients. He thought things like, I'm looking forward to this, I can't wait to get started, seems like a great place to work, nice coworkers. But little by little, Bob started to focus on certain things that he did not like. The conversation in his head goes something like, I don't think the manager is handling things properly. That coworker is difficult to get along with. The deadline on that is unrealistic. That client can be such a pain. He comes to expect these things in his work situation. Have you ever heard the saying, what you expect you will get? So the more Bob runs those tapes of what is wrong through his mind, the more stress he feels. He focuses on them and thinks about what he doesn't want, and voila, more stress, more internal pain. He starts not sleeping well, experiences back pain and headaches, feels overwhelmed and tired.
So as with our tire analogy, the more we run over the nails, the more holes we get in our tire, and the more our tire deflates. And if we continue to drive over it, we'll really ruin the tire and even the rim of our tire. And the more we focus on the triggers and think stressful thoughts, the worse our symptoms become. The worse we feel, starting with emotionally, frustration, tension, anxiety, worry, and we may start to use things like substances or other activities to avoid feeling these things. We may also ignore or repress our feelings, resulting in not sleeping, back pain, headaches, tension, illness, moodiness, or problems in relationships. So then, is the cause what we choose to focus on? Well, partly, but it is mostly how we choose to focus on something. So let me be clear here. As I said earlier, it is okay to not like something. Actually, it's essential that we not like some things. But there is a difference between not liking something coming from a place of judgment and resistance and not liking something from a place of discernment. We are discerning what we like from what we don't like from the time we're born. It helps us to make the many decisions in our lives about what we want and don't want in our lives. What makes it a judgment is when we label it good or bad or right or wrong in an absolute sense. If we judge something as good, it is superior to something we judge bad. When we judge something as bad, we rail against it. We're resistant to it. We don't even realize most of the time we're doing this. We don't realize that this lens of judgment that we're looking through is actually keeping us stuck in the situation and making us feel worse. Another way to put it is what we resist persists. It makes it bigger, amplifies it, especially within us. Jack Canfield, speaker and author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, talks about the reticular activating system that we have, a diffuse network of nerve pathways in the brainstem connecting the spinal cord, cerebrum, and cerebellum, and mediating the overall level of consciousness. It distinguishes between relevant and irrelevant information and acts like a filter for the massive amount of information we come into contact with each day. What happens when we're focused intently on something, the RAS will deem it relevant, since we seem to be putting a lot of effort and emotion into it. Then we'll be primed to notice more of it more acutely. Of course, noticing it more acutely will only heighten our intense emotions about it and make it seem even worse than it is. On the other hand, discernment is when we decide what is right and wrong for us. Whether it is right or wrong for another is not our place to say, unless we really believe we have the right to be judge and jury. It is not about out there, it is about in here or us. Discernment is when we're not looking outside of ourselves saying, that is not good, that is bad. Instead, we're saying, that is not the right thing for me. This is what's best for me, and based on what is best for me, this is what I choose to do. When we judge, we look through a lens that actually causes us a lot of pain. It doesn't cause the person or situation pain, but it does cause us pain. We are essentially saying it shouldn't be like that. It is not right. It is not good. It just should not be that way. We are putting a lot of effort into resisting something, as I said. We give our power away to the person and or situation to determine how we feel. By resisting it, we cause ourselves more pain. So let me say that again, the cause of stress is the lens that we use when we focus on something. If our lens says something is bad, we will feel stress. Here are the problems with going at what you see as the problems in that way. A, it is that way. That is the way it is. And to get something to change usually takes a lot of effort and time and hard work, because others involved will often be comfortable with the status quo. Is this something that you really want to take on? Is it worth your time and effort? B, people do not like to feel judged. They feel it when others are judging them, and nobody wants to feel like they are bad or wrong. You are not likely to have a receptive or warm audience for the changes you would like to see. C, judging keeps us focused and stuck on what is wrong. It is very difficult to see solutions when we're focused so intently on what we see as the problems. Now, if you are someone who judges, join the crowd. We are brought up in a culture that modeled judgment to us. We come by it honestly. It is our human conditioning to react negatively when we experience a letdown or disappointment over another person, situation, or condition. We all judge some of the time, and some judge a lot of the time. Just look online and you'll see a whole lot of judging going on. This does not make you a bad person. It makes you human, mostly because when we have clear ideas about what is good or bad, right or wrong, it helps us feel safer. When we have strong opinions, ideas, and beliefs about what we see as right and wrong or good or bad, we feel we have a stronger character. Yet what we need to look at is, what is that character built upon? Is it built upon looking outside of ourselves to determine how we feel and who we are, or inside of us to determine how we feel and who we are? If others act or do things differently than you and you feel it is affecting you in some way, like in your job, it is not about you, but a choice they are making within themselves based on their own personal preferences and beliefs. When we have a strong reaction to what another is doing, that reaction is ours and based upon our own personal preferences and beliefs. The first way gives our power away to situations and other people to determine who we are. We are buffeted about by the changing people and circumstances around us. They determine whether we're happy, sad, angry. This continues to breed uncertainty, fear, and shifting sands. The second, that of discernment, helps us to own our power, which builds certainty, clear-mindedness, and confidence in ourselves. See, when it is built upon true certainty about ourselves, nothing can threaten that. We don't feel threatened at all or fearful of when someone thinks or acts differently than we do. So if someone is doing something we don't like, we may discern that we do not like that, but it does not threaten or upset us. We determine that we don't like what they're doing, and that is all. Based on that discernment, we then decide what we do or don't want to do in response. But we do not feel bad about any of it. Or we feel bad momentarily and then quickly realize that it is not about us. It doesn't threaten who we are, so we do not take it on. Judging takes away our power, and discerning gives us the power we need to do what is best for us. Eckhart Tolle, author of The Power of Now, states, "Wherever you are, be there totally. If you find your here and now intolerable and it makes you unhappy, you have 3 options. Remove yourself from the situation, change it, or accept it totally." Now, if you want to come from the premise that you're in control and responsible for your own life, rather than giving your power away to others, Eckhart Tolle also states, "You must choose one of these 3 options, and you must choose it now. Then accept the consequences." So discerning is a good thing and a necessary part of life. There will always be things we don't like, and part of life is to discern what we don't like, which helps us to get more clear on what we do like. But sometimes we're stuck in our judgment of what we don't like, so much so that we cannot see clearly what we do like. We get glimpses of it, but focusing on what we feel is bad brings up a lot of negative emotions in us and escalates the focusing and the problems and the symptoms of stress. So much so that we can feel stuck and like we're going around in circles, headed towards burnout. The first step is to de-escalate the symptoms. Just like with the tire, if we're losing air, let's get that hole patched before we figure out how to stop running over the nails, or how to stop giving our power away to the situation and other people. But remember, this will only temporarily fix the tire. This will only temporarily fix the situation you're in, even if you leave the situation. And this may be what you end up doing anyway, even when you figure out how to stop running over the nails. But until you deal with the real cause, you're likely to find yourself in another situation where you're running over the nails. So make sure that you get enough sleep, or get help with that if you can. Move around more if you're sitting too much. Exercise is a great stress reliever. Go see a chiropractor or a massage therapist for your aches and pains. Take some downtime and a vacation. But also make sure that you, 1, start to move away from judgment and resistance to what is, and 2, understand that the situation you're in has only as much power over you as you give it. So discern what it is you like and don't like about a situation with the goal in mind to remove yourself, change it, or accept it totally. Sometimes we need assistance with discernment. We can be so close to a situation that we cannot see the forest for the trees, so to speak. And remember, all situations are changeable, although it can feel that they're not when you're in the middle of it. But you're never completely stuck in a situation. So let's go back to Bob for a minute and see what happened.
Bob knew that something had to change. Although he was feeling confused as how to do that, he reached out to a career coach. This career coach's mission was not just focused on helping her clients find jobs or change careers, but to assist her clients to figure out what the best answer for their career in life was. Would they stay? Could they stay? Would they work at changing the situation, or would they leave? What would be most beneficial to that client? As we talked about, Bob first started to take some more R&R, went for more walks, and went to see some healthcare professionals for help with his physical symptoms. He started to feel better and more hopeful again. With his career coach's help, he started working on letting go of this lens of judgment about what he felt was bad about where he worked, and instead started to discern what was right and wrong for him. Through discerning what was most important and right for him by looking at his work values, his personality type, his skills and interests, his preferred working conditions, he discerned that he did like the type of work he did, but not the environment he was working in. In letting go of his judgment, he stopped giving his power away to others to determine how he felt, and this allowed him to see again more of the good things that were happening in the company and in his day. He started to feel things improve at work. He was able to deal with things better, and others even seemed to improve around him. He decided that some of the things he was able to accept, but not the management style. But he did not let that bother him, as with his change in focus, he knew he could handle staying for the time being, while he looked for another company to work at. With his career coach's help, he was able to ascertain how to find a work environment that would be a better fit for him. He was able to network and apply for jobs he wanted and land a job that he was very happy with.
Like Bob, I know you can overcome the stress you're feeling and discern the best direction for you. For more information and articles related to letting go of stress and finding clarity in your career, please visit my website, soulsolutions.com. That's SOUL solutions.com. You can also sign up for a free career clarity session there, and I would be happy to help you put together a plan to move beyond your stress and get clarity on your career. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you found it helpful in answering some of your questions about stress and what you can do about it. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me on Facebook or Twitter.